Hey you guys, welcome back to my channel. So today is another video where I dump more of my K-pop opinions onto you guys. A lot of you guys seemed to like last week's video, so I thought I'd keep the ball rolling with some of my own opinions. As always with these videos, this is not meant to be an unpopular opinions video. Some of these opinions aren't unpopular, maybe some of them are. These are all just opinions I have and wanted to voice. So as always, don't take them too seriously and be respectful towards me and everyone else in the comments. Now let's get into the video. First opinion is Twice have a lot of filler B-sides. Before I get into this further, I feel like I should define what filler means in a musical sense. There's songs that are just meant to fill a space, such as increasing the runtime of an album. You can usually tell what songs are filler songs because they'll probably sound similar to another song on the album it was released on. I want to define it because it's different from a song that you just don't like. For example, I don't like the song Parade by Red Velvet and I skip it every time I'm listening to the Day One album. However, I recognize that it still serves a purpose musically in the album, and it doesn't just exist to extend the runtime. Now getting back to Twice, I feel like a lot of their B-sides exist purely to fill space, which was solidified for me after Eyes Wide Open was released. I remember being worried about them releasing a full album so soon after More and More, and unfortunately my fears were confirmed. I also feel like a lot more care and effort is put into creating their title tracks as opposed to their B-sides, as Twice are easily the girl group with the best title tracks, and I have never heard a title track from Twice that I didn't like. This is not to say I don't like Twice's music, because I do, or else I wouldn't stand them. I just think that there are a lot of songs in their discography that don't serve a purpose musically. I feel like because Twice are so used to coming back so often, and their fans and the industry as a whole have come to expect a minimum of 2 fully fledged Korean comebacks with 2 or 3 Japanese comebacks in between per year, the pressure to produce content becomes extremely strong, and I feel like JYP, especially in the past 3 to 4 years, has been really trying to see how much Twice content they can push out. I hope in the coming years JYP starts to learn the value of quality over quantity, and hopefully the pressure of trying to put out content decreases so that more care is put into their mini albums and full albums, not just the title tracks. Next opinion is Somi should have never moved to the Black label. Ever since it was announced that Somi was going to be a soloist, people have had all sorts of opinions about the career path she should have taken, whether or not she should have debuted in ITZY or not, why she left JYP, etc. I want to be clear, I'm not going to get into that discussion. There are a lot of moving parts to that I'll probably talk about in another video, but I wholeheartedly believe that she should not have moved to the Black label. A lot of people defend this decision because Somi is apparently a lot happier under the Black label and always talks about how great they are to her, but people forget she said similar things when she was under JYP as well. And regardless of how Somi feels, it's clear that the Black label isn't competent enough or just doesn't care enough to promote her properly, and it's been almost 2 years since her debut and we've gotten a grand total of 3 songs from her. Plus, it seems like a lot of hype that surrounded Somi just a couple years ago has really died down because of her inactivity, which leads me to another issue, which is that people think that Somi will be successful regardless of how the Black label promotes her. I think people overestimate how popular Somi actually is. A lot of her hype came from 16 and IOI, and it's been years since both. Interest in her as well as the other members of IOI has been declining, and it won't hold up her career forever. If Somi wants a chance at being a successful soloist, then the Black label needs to shape up and start promoting her like they actually care about her. Next opinion is, people are allowed to dislike groups that have been racist. I don't understand why this is a controversial take, but it is. People are allowed to dislike a group or an idol if they've been racist. It doesn't matter if you think they're a good person. It doesn't matter how much you like them. People are well within their rights to dislike groups and idols who have been racist, and the failure of fans to remove their K-pop stan glasses and understand that disliking an idol for being racist is not the same as disliking an idol for a petty reason like how they talk or the music they make. And a lot of fans compare people who dislike racist idols to people who dislike idols for petty reasons, i.e. Moomoo's lumping in people who dislike Mamamoo for their history of being racist as just haters who are jealous of them. People are well within their right to dislike an idol or group who's been racist. I know it's hard to accept, but it's just true. Next opinion is, K-pop isn't a participation event. I feel like I saw the most of this mindset when BTS were nominated for a Grammy back last year. People were whining about Blackpink not getting nominated, EXO not getting nominated, so on and so forth. People have the same arguments in regards to award shows, arguing that the bigger groups should just let other groups win. K-pop is not a participation event where everyone gets a prize just for showing up. Your fave doesn't deserve an award just for releasing a song. That's not how the industry works. And award shows who do give out awards based on participation, example, the AAAs, have been highly criticized in the past due to how freely they give out awards, and the criteria is solely based on whether or not you attend the show. Let go of the entitlement that causes you to believe that every idol and group deserves an award even if they haven't met the criteria. Next opinion is not every idol is talented. I've definitely mentioned this in past videos, but I wanted to say it again to expand on it. Not every idol is talented, and before people start up with they wouldn't be able to debut if they weren't talented. From a business standpoint, there are plenty of reasons a company would debut an idol who isn't talented in a group. Idols are put in a group because they're pretty, because they're foreign, because they're funny and would be good on variety shows, because they need a certain number of members, so on and so forth. That's not to say that there's no way for these idols to ever become talented, but there are certainly idols who debuted in these groups for a reason that wasn't their talent. Next opinion is, stop making excuses for why idols can't sing. People give out all sorts of reasons for why their faves can't sing, some of which make literally no sense, i.e., the song is out of their range, the choreo is too hard, singing and dancing at the same time is too difficult. And while sometimes the song can be out of an idol's range, the other two aren't excuses. I said this in my last video, but the standard for talent has reached a new low where being a good singer is optional at this point. Another thing people like to do is blame the companies, and while I do think that there's a lack of proper training in terms of vocals in K-pop as a whole, you can't just blame the company all the time. It strips idols of their autonomy. Next opinion is, K-pop stans only care about social justice issues when it can be used to dunk on BTS. It's funny to me that the only time I've ever seen K-pop stans care about racism and cultural appropriation, especially when it comes to black people, is when it's time to dump all over BTS. It's so unbelievably hypocritical, especially considering that a group that isn't BTS does cultural appropriation or are generally racist or insensitive. Y'all start saying shit like, it's the stylist's fault, not theirs. You guys are pushing your Western views onto them, or some other convoluted reason as to why the idol or group in question can't be blamed. But whenever it's BTS, people are quick to act like experts on race theory. And for people who argue so much about how we shouldn't dredge up idols' problematic past because people can quote-unquote grow and change, you all have never afforded BTS that privilege, even despite the fact that they're one of the few groups who's actually apologized and actually made efforts to be more socially aware. You don't get to decide that every other group who does something racist is just harmlessly ignorant and they just can't be expected to know better, while BTS need to be condemned to hell. You either care about social justice issues or you don't get to flip-flop when it comes to BTS. Next opinion is, charts are the most accurate way to gauge a group or soloist's success. Personally, I feel like album sales and music show wins aren't that reliable when it comes to telling how successful a group is, because a group or soloist can have a very dedicated fan base, but having a dedicated fan base doesn't necessarily mean you're successful. If a group or soloist can't chart well in Korea, they're probably not that popular domestically, and it doesn't really matter how many albums they've sold or how many music show wins they have. For example, IU doesn't have the most album sales or most music show wins, but she's easily one of, if not the most popular female soloist in Korea and one of the most influential Korean celebrities. And she always charts well every single time she comes back with a song. Charts are just more important in terms of gauging somebody's success. Next opinion is, P Nation has done nothing to show us that they're a good company. People are always talking about what a great company P Nation is and how they all want groups under shitty companies to move to P Nation, but they've literally done nothing to show us that they're a good label. 6 out of 7 artists under P Nation were already well known in the industry, meaning that P Nation didn't have to build them from the ground up. P Nation is at best a glorified adoption center, and there's no real reason any idol should move to P Nation over any other company. People just like P Nation because Psy is the CEO. Next opinion is, stop defending YG. I really didn't think I'd ever have to say this, considering what a shitty company YG has shown themselves to be, but it's come to my attention that YG Entertainment actually has shooters, specifically in the sense that a lot of people feel like there's some really smart, calculated reason as to why they do the shit they do, i.e. Blackpink's long hiatuses, the lack of content between comebacks, so on and so forth. People claim that this is because it creates demand for content, which in turn makes Blackpink more successful, which in turn makes Blackpink more popular because fans will love all their releases, blah blah blah. To assume YG is some mastermind who's actually been orchestrating Blackpink's success the whole time is giving him too much credit, especially considering that a lot of decisions they've made have worked against them in the long run. I think some people take comfort in believing that YG has a plan and that the way he treated treated Blackpink for the last 3.5 years is justified because he's some sort of genius. But the reality is YG is just a dum-dum who doesn't know what he's doing and has mishandled Blackpink's success ever since their debut. Next opinion is the Irene situation was blown way out of proportion, and the stylist also has dirt on their hands. This is definitely going to get me dragged, so just buckle up. I think part of the reason why people were so hyped up about this situation is because of the scandal with Woojin that happened like a month before, and so everyone thought that somebody needed to be cancelled and that person was Irene. And this is not to say I think Irene is completely innocent or whatever. I just don't think that outrage around this situation was warranted, and I also partially blame the stylist and how poorly they handled this situation for why it was blown out of proportion. Making claims they didn't back up, i.e. their alleged recording of Irene yelling at them, causing mass outrage and then backpedaling from their original post when they realized people weren't rallying around them the way they thought they would, and just generally handling this situation poorly. I don't know what it is with K-pop stylists, but there's clearly something in the water that makes these people incapable of acting like mature adults, like Blackpink's stylist posting on their fucking Instagram story accusing Twice of plagiarism that resulted in Dahyun getting a lot of hate from Blackpink's fans, Loona's stylist actually plagiarizing runway outfits and almost getting the girls in trouble, so on and so forth. I know I might get a lot of shit for this since it's cool to dump all over Irene right now, but so much misinformation has been spread about what happened between Irene and the stylist, and I think some people refusing to do their research or form their own opinion is part of why people got so mad about this situation. What happened with Irene and the stylist was at worst a workplace argument, and more importantly, we still don't know what Irene and the stylist were arguing about. The most important thing is that Irene has apologized numerous times now, and she doesn't deserve to be condemned to hell for what happened. Next opinion is BBC needs to be more concerned with building Loona a domestic fan base. Don't get me wrong, Loona releasing an English song, entering the Billboard 200, and being played on the radio is nice and all, but American promotions should be secondary to gaining domestic support. There are so many 4th-gen groups right now who have big international fandoms but so few domestic fans because companies become so obsessed with their group being the next group to get big in the US that they completely forego building a domestic fan base. As a K-pop group, a domestic fan base is the backbone Loona needs. Getting music show wins, charting well in Korea, winning awards, that all depends on a strong Korean fan base, and if Loona don't have that, they will end up like the other 3rd and 4th-gen groups who don't have the support of the K-pop industry. And the last opinion is seulrene are the best girl group dance line. This is simply the truth. Name one other girl group dance line with that amount of talent. While Seulgi is better than Irene, the gap in their talent isn't that big, and Seulgi doesn't overshadow Irene like a lot of other main dancers do with the other members of their dance line. Especially after their debut as a subunit and we really got to see both Irene and Seulgi at their full potential, they're easily the best girl group dance line in K-pop, and I cannot wait to see what they do in the future. Anyways, that is all for this video, you guys. Comment down below what you thought about my opinions, your own opinions, whatever. I just really love reading your comments. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!